At 0930 hours on Tuesday, they fired me. By 1430, I'd frozen their $750 million empire solid. Here's how 27 years of loyalty turned into the perfect takedown. The name's Vincent Rodriguez, but everyone calls me Bear. I'm 53 years old, and for the past 27 years, I've been the operational backbone holding Ashford Systems together. You don't know me, but if you bought grain in Iowa, beef in Kansas, or military equipment after a natural disaster, I'm the reason it got there on time. I run logistics for a $750 million operation moving 1,200 trucks across the Midwest, plus $180 million in Pentagon contracts. That's corporate speak for the guy who makes sure America eats and stays defended. 6 months ago, my cardiologist looked at my stress test results and shook his head. Vincent, you're running on fumes. Blood pressure's through the roof, you need to slow down. Easy for him to say. I got alimony payments of $2,800 a month to Linda. My son Danny's pregnant wife needs medical care, and my other boy Miguel just got his VA disability claim approved after his Army injury finally got recognized. Slowing down isn't an option when you're the provider for 3 generations. The watch band tightens around my wrist as I think about it. Old habit from my Navy Seabees days. Check the pressure, adjust the system load, maintain operational readiness. 12 years in the Navy construction battalions taught me that logistics failures kill people. I lost 3 shipmates in the USS Cole bombing aftermath because someone screwed up the supply chain for protective gear. Swore I'd never let supply chain failures hurt people again. The trouble started when old Howard Ashford retired to his golf course in Arizona. Howard was tough, sure, but he understood that freight moves on trust and timing. Plus, he was a Korean War vet who respected what service means. We had an understanding. I kept his trucks rolling and his Pentagon contracts clean. He kept the paychecks coming and stayed out of my operational parameters. Then came his son, Preston. Preston Ashford, 29 years old, Wharton MBA. Teeth so white they looked like they'd never bit into real food. Kid walked into that CEO office like he owned the world, which technically he did. First week he installed a meditation room. Second week he hired this woman, Diana Walsh, as Chief Culture Officer. That's corporate speak for his girlfriend with a sociology degree who needed a paycheck. Third week, he was talking about disrupting the antiquated trucking industry with agile methodologies and streamlined operational frameworks. I kept my head down, survived the Gulf War, 3 recessions, and a cyber attack that had me routing trucks with paper maps for 2 weeks. Figured I could survive Preston too. My retirement calculations showed 15 months to go. The pension fund had Linda's name on 60% of it per the divorce decree. Every day I didn't work was money out of Miguel's medical treatments and Danny's baby's future college fund. The friction started slow, like a hydraulic leak in winter. You don't notice the pressure drop until the whole system starts failing. Preston didn't like legacy employees. We were analog infrastructure in his digital transformation vision. I was a middle-aged guy in steel-toed boots who preferred CB radio to Slack, because when a driver's stuck in a blizzard carrying sensitive military cargo, you don't send him an emoji and hope for operational success. To Preston, I was obsolete legacy code that needed debugging. To me, he was like a fresh ensign straight out of Annapolis. Dangerous because he had authority, but zero field experience under actual operational stress. The breaking point came during harvest season, right when Major Susan Phillips from Pentagon Procurement was scheduled for our annual compliance audit. Peak operational load, everything moving at maximum capacity. Corn from Iowa, soybeans from Illinois, wheat from Kansas, plus sensitive military cargo that required security clearance coordination and real-time temperature monitoring. I was working 14-hour days coordinating with farmers whose entire year depended on getting crops to market before weather turned, while simultaneously ensuring our DoD contracts met federal security standards that could shut us down if we missed one protocol. My daughter Sophie was 8 months pregnant, and Miguel was finally getting steady work through a veteran hiring program I'd helped set up. Everything was moving according to operational parameters. Then the email landed in my inbox like an incoming missile. Subject: Mandatory Team Excellence Retreat Weekend. Preston wanted all senior staff at some resort in Wisconsin for trust exercises and corporate synergy workshops. Same weekend as Major Phillips's compliance review, the harvest rush, and 200 trucks moving temperature-sensitive military and agricultural loads that couldn't sit in a parking lot while we played team-building games. I hit reply without thinking twice. Preston, can't make the retreat. Got critical compliance review with Pentagon procurement plus agricultural loads running Saturday. One delay could cost these farmers their entire season and put our federal contracts at operational risk. Have a good weekend, Bear. Professional, respectful, reasonable. I was wrong to think operational reality mattered to someone who'd never seen a supply chain under actual combat stress. I was wrong to think 27 years of keeping his father's promises meant anything to a kid who measured success in quarterly profit margins instead of missions accomplished. Monday morning, the office felt different. You know that feeling when the barometric pressure drops before a storm? The CB chatter was too quiet. Dispatchers avoided eye contact like they were afraid of getting caught in the blast radius. I sat down, booted up my computer, took a sip of truck stop coffee that could strip paint off a battleship. My login failed. Access denied. System down, I muttered. Trying again. Access denied. The screen blinked back at me like it had never seen me before. I was reaching for the phone when I heard expensive shoes clicking across the concrete floor. Preston's voice echoed behind me, along with Diana holding her tablet and two security guards who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. And Major Susan Phillips, the Pentagon auditor, watching everything with sharp eyes and taking notes on a government-issued pad. Bear. I spun my chair around. There he was, flanked by his corporate entourage, looking like he was about to deliver a quarterly earnings report instead of ending a man's career. System down? I asked, though my operational assessment already knew the answer. The way Preston's jaw was set, the way Diana couldn't make eye contact, the way those security guards were positioned, this was a planned tactical strike. We're restructuring for operational efficiency, Preston said, adjusting his power tie like he was fine-tuning an antenna. Your unwillingness to embrace team culture demonstrates poor cultural alignment with our strategic vision moving forward. I stared at him. The silence stretched tight as a load strap under maximum weight. Major Phillips was writing furiously, documenting every word for her federal report. You're firing me because I chose operational compliance over your trust exercises. It's about synergistic frequency alignment, Diana chimed in, voice full of corporate buzzwords and zero substance. We need people who resonate on our wavelength and can pivot with our dynamic organizational matrix. I looked at Diana. I looked at Preston. I looked at the security guards standing there like they were guarding the nuclear launch codes. The watch band was cutting off circulation now. Major Phillips stepped forward, her military bearing cutting through the corporate theater. Excuse me, she said, voice carrying the kind of authority you only get from years of actual service. Are you terminating the primary logistics coordinator during a federal compliance review? Preston turned to her, clearly annoyed that his firing ceremony was being interrupted by someone who actually understood what my job entailed. Major, this is an internal personnel matter. We'll assign someone else to handle the review process. Someone else? I stood up slow and deliberate, every movement calculated like I was handling live ordnance. Preston, I manage contracts for 500 suppliers across 12 states. I'm the authorized signatory for the Port of Chicago, Teamsters Local 705, and the Pentagon Agricultural Transport Consortium. Those relationships don't transfer to your corporate cloud. Neither does my security clearance, which took 18 months to get approved and covers half your federal contracts. Preston laughed, ugly sound like metal scraping metal. Everyone's replaceable, Bear. That's business 101. We'll figure out the transition details. I looked at my desk, the CB radio crackling with driver chatter about weather conditions and route changes. The framed photo of Danny's ultrasound showing my first grandson. The coffee mug from my CB's unit with the motto, "Can do," barely visible under years of wear. The stack of federal compliance manuals that Preston had probably never opened. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my security badge and Pentagon access card, dropped them in Preston's manicured hand like I was turning over the keys to a kingdom he didn't know how to run. Copy that, I said, looking him in the eye for the first time in months. Tell your old man Bear said good luck with the operational transition. Major Phillips was writing down everything, her pen moving across the paper like she was documenting a war crime. Mr. Rodriguez, I'll need to file an immediate report on this personnel change. This significantly affects our security assessment and compliance timeline. Preston waved her off like she was a mosquito at a barbecue. Major, we'll handle the transition smoothly. No disruption to operations. We have contingency protocols in place. I grabbed my jacket and Danny's ultrasound photo, leaving everything else behind. Preston, by 1200 hours, your first convoy's going to hit the way station in Toledo. By 1430, your entire network's going to realize the operational heart just got ripped out of the system. Your contingency protocols are about to meet reality. I walked toward the exit, hearing Diana whisper frantically to Preston about damage control and stakeholder management. The security guards followed me like I might steal a stapler on my way out. Mr. Rodriguez, Major Phillips called after me. I'll need your contact information. The Pentagon will want a debrief on operational security protocols. I stopped, turned around. Major, my personal cell's on file with your office. When you write your report, make sure you mention that they just terminated their primary security clearance holder during harvest season with 200 temperature-sensitive loads in transit and 48 hours before your compliance deadline. Her eyebrows went up. Are you saying this company just voluntarily failed federal security protocols? I'm saying that's above my operational clearance level now, Major. I'm just a civilian walking to his truck. The parking lot air tasted like diesel fumes and freedom. I walked to my 2016-15, the one with battle scars from loading dock encounters and a CB antenna that had seen more miles than most people's cars. I tossed my jacket and Danny's photo onto the passenger seat, next to the emergency kit I kept for breakdowns and the thermos that had gotten me through more all-nighters than I could count. Most people, when they get fired after 27 years, panic. Think about the mortgage, health insurance, their operational identity crumbling. Part of me was running those calculations. I'm paying alimony to Linda. Sophie's baby is due next month. Miguel's finally stable but still needs his medications. Danny and his wife are counting on my health insurance until their baby comes. But another part of me, the part that survived convoy duty in hostile territory, where one supply chain failure meant people died, was already shifting into tactical mode. Except this time I wasn't defending the convoy. I was the incoming threat vector, and Preston had just given me the perfect operational opportunity. I pulled out my personal cell phone. Thank operational security, I never mixed business with personal communications. My contact list read like a who's who of Midwest logistics and military procurement, not official channels, but the emergency numbers they called when systems went critical and someone needed to make things happen fast. I didn't send a mass email. That's amateur hour, looks like sabotage, gets you investigated by federal authorities. I needed surgical strikes, precision targeting, coordinated operational shutdown that would look like natural system failure instead of deliberate demolition. I typed out a message, choosing my words like I was defusing a bomb. Effective immediately. Vincent Rodriguez is no longer employed by Ashford Systems. I'm no longer authorized to sign off on safety protocols, rate negotiations, equipment certifications, or DoD compliance reviews. Per Clause 7B of our standard service agreements, key personnel changes trigger automatic credit review and security clearance verification. Please contact Preston Ashford, CEO, for all future authorizations. Clause 7B. The operational kill switch I'd built into every major contract years ago when Ashford was expanding fast and vendors were nervous about getting paid. Simple clause that said if the key relationship manager left the company, vendors could pause service until they vetted the replacement's credentials and financial stability. Preston didn't know about Clause 7B. Preston probably thought service agreements were something you signed on an iPad and forgot about. I hit send. First email to Allied Agricultural Transport. Send Midwest Grain Haulers Consortium. Send Chicago Port Authority Freight Division. Send Pentagon Supply Chain Verification Office. Send Great Lakes Trucking Alliance. Send. Took me 30 minutes working down the list alphabetically, like I was conducting a military operation. Each send was like pulling a pin from a grenade with a 4-hour delay fuse. Every ping cost Ashford about $50,000 in delayed revenue, plus the federal contract suspension that would come when Pentagon discovered their security clearance holder had been terminated during an active compliance review. My phone buzzed immediately. Sergeant Rodriguez from Teamsters Local 705, no relation, different Rodriguez family. Voice like gravel in a cement mixer. Bear, what the hell is this email? Just got a bounce back from your work address saying user unknown. Systems telling me you don't exist. I'm out, Sergeant. Preston cut me loose this morning. Cultural alignment issues with the strategic vision matrix. Cultural alignment. Sergeant barked a laugh that could strip rust off steel. Does this college boy know we got 150 drivers moving grain loads today? Temperature-sensitive cargo that'll spoil if we sit around waiting for his cultural frequencies to align. Plus military loads that require your personal security clearance. My guys don't roll without your safety authorization. That'd be Preston's operational challenge now. Maybe Diana can align the safety protocols with proper synergistic wavelengths and dynamic organizational pivoting. Yeah, right? You ain't signing off. Trucks don't roll. Clause 7B kicks in automatic. Correct? Clause 7B operational parameters are now active. Copy that, Bear. Trucks are parking. My boys are heading to the Union Hall. Enjoy your day off. One domino down. I fired up the F-150 and drove to my command post, Betty's truck stop on Route 88. Greasy spoon with vinyl booths worn smooth by 30 years of drivers, coffee that could dissolve engine deposits, and eggs cooked in grease older than Preston's MBA program. Perfect operational environment for coordinating a systematic takedown. Coffee Bear, keep it coming, Betty said, sliding the pot across the counter. And here's the Wi-Fi password. You look like you got work to do. I set up my laptop on the sticky table, next to the window where I could watch the interstate. Phone started buzzing immediately. Incoming call, Swift Agricultural Logistics. Incoming call, Iowa Grain Transport. Incoming call, Preston Ashford. I stared at Preston's name flashing on the screen. Let it ring. He called again. Let it ring again. Took a sip of coffee that tasted like tactical victory and diesel exhaust. I opened my tracking app, publicly available system that monitored truck movements across the Midwest. Red dots were appearing across the map like a disease spreading through the network. Red meant stationary for more than 30 minutes without authorization. Cluster of red dots forming outside Chicago. That'd be the grain terminal where security codes updated weekly through an automated system that required my personal authorization. I used to text new codes to drivers every Monday morning before the system locked down. Today was Tuesday. The system required manual authorization reset from someone with proper clearance level. I hadn't done the reset before Preston escorted me out. Phone buzzed. Text from unknown number, 312 area code. Mr. Rodriguez, this is Peterson, dispatch for Central Illinois Egg Transport. Our drivers are locked out of the Ashford terminal in Chicago. Your office is unresponsive. Are we an operational breach of contract? I typed back, choosing my words carefully. Mr. Peterson, I no longer work for Ashford Systems. Refer to Clause 7B in your service agreement. Cannot authorize access without proper employment verification and security clearance confirmation. Good luck with your operational challenges. 3 minutes later, another red dot appeared on my tracking display. Chicago terminal was frozen solid, like a heart attack in the circulatory system. My phone lit up like Christmas morning. Every vendor, every driver, every partner I'd worked with over 2 decades was calling. The network was realizing the nerve center had been severed, and the whole system was starting to shut down in self-defense. Major Phillips called at 12:15 hours. Bear, this is Major Phillips. I need to understand something. Are you telling me Ashford Systems just terminated their primary logistics coordinator and Pentagon liaison during an active federal compliance review? That's correct, Major. Personnel decision above my operational clearance level and their security clearance requirements for federal contracts. My clearance was personal, not transferable. DoD regulations require 180-day verification period for new personnel handling classified logistics. Preston just created a massive compliance gap. Long pause. I could hear her typing in the background. Jesus Christ, she muttered. I'm filing an immediate federal review. This company just voluntarily failed basic operational security protocols during harvest season. At 12:30 hours, my phone rang. Not Preston this time. The panicked voice of Diana Walsh, all that corporate confidence stripped away like paint in a sandstorm. Bear, this is Diana. You have to give us the access codes. The drivers are calling law enforcement. The Pentagon is threatening immediate contract suspension. Deanna, I don't have access codes. They're on the server in your building. We can't get into the server. It keeps asking for authentication sent to your phone. Ah, that's two-factor authentication. Very important for operational security. Military-grade protection against unauthorized access. Give me the code. Can't do it, Diana. I'm a civilian now. Sharing security credentials with unauthorized personnel violates federal cybersecurity laws. I could face prosecution under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Stunned silence. I could hear Preston in the background shouting about hostage situations and corporate terrorism. Preston, I said, raising my voice so he could hear. You terminated my employment effective immediately. That means my security clearance is revoked per federal regulations. If I give you that code, I'm committing a federal crime, won't break the law for a company I don't work for. I'm putting you on speaker. Diana's voice was shaking now. Bear. Preston's voice, tight with barely controlled panic. Stop playing games. Give us the code or I'm suing you for corporate sabotage and economic terrorism. Preston, You fired me for cultural fit, said I was replaceable legacy infrastructure. Surely your agile leadership team can figure out password recovery through your IT provider. We called IT. They said the account administrator has to authorize reset. That's you. Sounds like a flaw in your organizational chart. I'd suggest calling AT&T's emergency line. Costs about $5,000 per hour, but they can override it in maybe 24 hours if you have proper legal documentation. 24 hours, Preston exploded. We have 500 tons of soybeans sitting in Iowa, plus military cargo that'll fail federal deadlines and cost us every Pentagon contract. Soybeans are tricky. Time-sensitive commodity. Did you renew the climate control contracts for the storage facilities? Those expire monthly? I usually handle that manually because the automated system has operational glitches. Thud sounded like someone punching a desk hard enough to crack wood. At 13:45 hours, my phone buzzed with a news alert that made my watch band tighten one last time. Breaking incident report. Ashford freight vehicle involved in multi-truck pileup on I-80, hazmat spill reported. I called Sergeant Rodriguez immediately. Bear, tell me you saw the news. I saw it. Was it one of our guys? No, but listen, it was a scab driver. Non-union guy Preston hired off some smartphone app because we refused to move the load without your authorization. The kid didn't have hazmat endorsement, didn't know the safety protocols. My system pressure dropped to 0. What kind of load? Industrial solvent. The kid didn't have proper training, took a curve too fast trying to make up time. Jackknifed, leaked chemicals all over the interstate, EPA's on scene, DOT's shutting down everything. This wasn't just operational delay anymore. This was federal investigation territory. Someone could have died because Preston was too arrogant to understand what safety protocols actually mean. Driver okay, he's alive, banged up bad, but alive. Ashford's done grounding the entire fleet for mandatory safety audit. Federal suspension of operations. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new office at Global Transport Corporation, corner office, 35th floor, glass wall overlooking the port where I can watch the cranes loading containers onto ships. Some still have faded Ashford logos, but they're moving on global bills of lading now. The pension fund transfer went through. All 400 drivers kept their benefits. Sergeant Rodriguez sent me a plaque. To bear. We roll when you say roll. It hangs next to my Navy commendation and a photo of my grandson. Preston got 18 months federal prison for safety violations and embezzlement. Turns out he'd been skimming from the pension fund to pay for company retreats. Deanna's podcast about surviving toxic masculinity lasted 3 episodes before sponsors dropped her. Howard returned from Arizona, sold the remaining assets to Global for one person, and personally delivered the pension fund transfer papers. Bear, he said that day, I built that company for people like you. I'm sorry my son forgot what that meant. My assistant Rachel walks in with the daily briefing. Fleet utilization up 23%. Customer satisfaction highest in company history. 0 safety incidents. Pentagon contracts renewed for $280 million. The operational machines humming perfectly. Phone rings. Bear Rodriguez's office. Grain emergency in Nebraska, Rachel says, early frost warning. They need 150 trucks by dawn. I put on my headset, pull up the route planning software. Let's move some freight. That evening, I drive home to my apartment. Danny's there visiting 3 months sober now, working full-time at a machine shop through our veteran hiring program. Miguel's VA claim came through, and he's training as a logistics coordinator. Sophie's baby boy, Vincent James Rodriguez Martinez, is crawling everywhere and trying to grab everything he can reach. Dad, Danny says, my supervisor heard about what you did. Said you're a legend in logistics circles now. I'm not a legend, son. I'm just a guy who knows how operational systems work and what happens when people take them for granted. But you didn't just break it, you fixed it better. Made sure everyone was taken care of. I look at my family, 3 generations sitting around my kitchen table, everything I fought for. That's the thing about real competence, Danny. It doesn't just tear down what's broken. It builds something better. The working people, we're the ones who keep America running. When the suits forget that, we remind them. In the end, I learned that loyalty isn't a contract you sign with a company. It's a promise you keep with the people who depend on you to do the job right. And when that promise gets broken from above, sometimes the only way to honor it is to tear down what's corrupt and build something better. 27 years taught me that the real power in America isn't in corner offices or board meetings. It's in the calloused hands of people who actually know how to make things work. And when we decide to stop working for those who don't respect us, the whole house of cards comes crashing down faster than they ever imagined. Bear out.